Before I do the model of a student going through and explicating the process of their essay and evaluating the essay, I want to go over the learning goal. There's two for this video. The first is that students will generate feedback for their argument essay that evaluates mastery of the rubric, reflects on the learning process, and evaluates areas of improvement for future drafts. So the goal or the target is a 3, and that says the student effectively and thoroughly evaluates the mastery of the rubric and reflects on the learning. Secondly, the student appraises, and appraise means to assess the value or quality of your learning through self-reporting. And the target here is that the student effectively and thoroughly assesses the learning through self-reporting. I'll remind you of the rubric. So to get the highest score for your introduction, you want to effectively include the title, author, pertinent background information, and a strong thesis statement. For your body paragraphs, each body paragraph starts with an effective topic sentence, a clear example from the novel, appropriate quote, and an explanation in at least 2 sentences. Your conclusion clearly restates the thesis in a new way. It effectively reminds the reader of the purpose of the essay. And since we've been practicing avoiding fragments and run-ons and no red ink, there should be no fragments or run-ons. So now I'm going to model what your video could look like, explicating a model essay. Okay, so the title is, or the topic is Holden relatable to teenagers today. So now I'm going to focus on my introduction. So I think I did a good job introducing both the author and the title. And I talk about how it's a coming-of-age novel for a 16-year-old boy named Holden. He takes a trip to discover the real truth of adulthood. Here, I think I could have done a little bit better of a job talking about his depression, and I noticed that maybe I could combine these 2 sentences. I say Holden is relatable to teens for 2 reasons. He experiences overwhelming feelings like most teens do, and is not very excited of the idea of growing up. Here, I think I could have done a little bit better job being more specific regarding the idea of growing up. So I think when I go back, I might try to word that differently so it's a little bit more specific. Moving on to my topic sentence of my body paragraph. Holden is relatable to teens today because he experiences overwhelming feelings like most teens do. So that's my first reason for my thesis statement. I jump right to my quote, and I think I was supposed to set it up a little bit more. So I probably should introduce what was happening here because it's a little confusing how it jumps right to the quote. And then I try to explain the quote. He is so fixated on calling everyone a phony. He does this to not think about who he is. I think this might be a run-on sentence, so I'm going to have to check that and go back and fix it. Holden focuses on others rather than himself. And then I try to connect it to being a teenager today, to how teenagers today spend our time sometimes hating ourselves and focusing on other people because of our looks. Maybe I could provide a more specific example here. And I think I'm generalizing a little bit, so I might go back and fix that as well. And then I end with another quote, but I forgot to explain it. So if I'm going to include another quote, which I didn't need to do, I'm going to make sure I explain it when I go back later. And then in my second example, I have a really good topic sentence I'm proud of. He's afraid of growing up, but then again, I forgot to introduce what was happening. Then I explain it. When teens don't want to grow up and feel too pressured, they do things they should not. For example, smoking or drinking. And here, since I'm relating to teens today, I should probably mention how Holden smokes and drinks. And I do mention that, but I could probably refer to a specific instance. And then I relate it to being teenagers today. I forgot to include my conclusion. So I'm going to go back and add a conclusion and make sure that in my conclusion, I clearly restate the thesis in a new way and remind the reader of the purpose of this essay, which is to share how Holden is relatable to teens today. I think I did a pretty good job with fragments, but I think as I went through it, there was one or two places where I could probably combine the sentences to make my sentences more sophisticated.